Hello, this is Pack Your Bags with Tui, and I'm Russell Kane, the podcast where we dig through celebrity suitcases one item at a time. Each episode, I'm joined by some of the biggest names from the world of sport, food, entertainment, and more. They're going to share their 3 must-pack travel items, from oddball keepsakes to brilliant travel hacks. Each item offers a glimpse into how they view the world, whether they're living the high life in 5-star comfort or surviving on a campsite. Mostly it's the first one, I'm not going to lie. It's not just about unpacking our guests' luggage. Okay, maybe there's going to be a bit of emotional baggage too. We're also sorting out your travel dilemmas. Listeners have sent dilemmas in, and we have a go at solving them with the help of my guest. And to polish it all off, we end with a quick fire round that really puts them in the hot seat. So there's only one thing left to do. Enjoy the episode. And today, bit of a legend in the room. Slurry Lamb in the building. Welcome to Pack Your Bags with Tui. How you do? You're looking fantastic. There's no way.
Feeling all right, mate.
I have to check.
Feeling
You're
all
saying
right.
you're 77 here. What are you taking?
Every morning I go and swim in whatever the temperature of water is, to the point where in the summertime now I get fed up because the water's too warm. It's really bizarre. But people do it wrong. They try and start in the winter. You don't start cold wet water swimming in the winter. You start in the summer, because what you need to do is let your body temperature accommodate it down and down and down and down until all of a sudden you think, blimey, it's 8 degrees here now. And it just feels absolutely fine.
Obviously, this is a travel show, so there's lots of places where people might go cold water swimming, Scandinavia, Canada, whatever.
Yeah.
What am I not understanding about this cold water thing?
It's like the strangest thing happens to you when I lower myself into the water and I feel the water coming up my shoulders, and it's like cold, 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 cold. And then I duck under, and you just get addicted to it.
I did not see us kicking off with a bit of cold water swimming, but there we are.
As close as you're getting, right?
So you're here to chat about your travel experiences. You've brought your 3 must-pack travel items along, but before we get into those, we've been getting travel dilemmas from fans of the Pack Your Bags show.
Right.
So I've got a bit of a travel dilemma that someone sent in that I want to see if you can help solve it.
Okay.
Ready? I'm a triplet and I'm off on a family holiday to Cyprus for my dad's 70th birthday. Both my siblings are bringing their significant others, but I'm single and I'm worried that I'm going to feel like the child of the trip and be made to feel a bit lonely. What can I do to still enjoy the trip and not feel lonely?
Life on your own is good. It's not necessary to be a part of a couple all the time. And I've been a lot of couples. Single is an interesting state.
Are you dating? You still
No,
out about dating?
You're
not retired?
lots and lots of friends, but
You never go out on a date?
No, really, no. I mean, not what you would call it for it with any sort of romantic touch to it, you know?
What a waste of a...
Yeah, but
solid...
look, man.
There's some 75-year-old women now kicking their listening devices over.
Yeah, well, look, the thing is, unfortunately...
You can't waste a 77-year-old specimen like that. It's not fair.
What I've done in 77 years, that's right.
There could be another 20 to go.
Yeah, I know, but there's certainly
There's
another
more
20
spring
to
lambs.
Go, but I'm much more intent on having a larger share of the next 20 years myself.
Mate, your DMs are going to get ruined after this. Right, let's go into that bag. What is your first must-pack travel item?
My little tiny penknife, but that will go through on the scanners in an airport because it's only of a certain size, right?
You can take that on a plane?
Yeah, you put that in your bag, that will go through, right? Yeah, it's been through a lot of places. It acts as a screwdriver. Yeah. It's really good for cutting fruit. Yeah. If you're in trouble, you can cut a finger off, it's really good.
Yes, mate.
All-purpose surgery on the spot. I can't do without it.
Now, obviously, just before we started recording, we discovered this strange thing that we grew up in, not just in a similar postcode, but your childhood home is, I'm going to say, 2 or 3 minutes walk from my front door. So I know what that area is like, not exactly rolling around in cash. No. So growing up, did you ever imagine you would have visited as many places as you have? When you look back now at the world that you've seen, does it blow your mind?
Dreaming of places was something that I did. And one of the reasons, my granddad had actually served in the First World War out in France and had gone 4 years out there. So there was this place I knew that was called France. And then on my dad's side, there was an uncle there who'd done the same thing. He was an old uncle that had done the First World War. So there was always a sense of adventure in me, places I wanted to see. And then so as I got older, it was like, well, I better try and get a job where I'm going to be going somewhere. And of course, I had barely any qualifications. So I managed to get myself a job as a salesman in Germany, selling to the American troops in Germany that were part of the occupation forces after the Second World War. So the adventures started to unravel.
So you actually you lived in France and Germany, haven't you? Or worked?
Yeah, the first place I lived in, other than England, was Germany. I lived out in Wiesbaden to start with. Then I lived in Frankfurt, and then down into the south, down in Nuremberg, and up in the top in Bremerhaven. And so I saw the whole country. And of course, it's like so many European countries, the regions hang on to their cuisine. So you can experience the country traveling around. And then at a certain point where I was doing this encyclopedia selling, you were on the move all the time. There were a couple of us, we were going around together because you could find a hotel room for £1 a night. And that was our budget, right?
Wow.
£1 a night, including breakfast. And the rest went on beer. So that's what we did. And every night we went.
Did you pick up any German? Did you speak German by the end of it?
Ich kann das Deutsch sprechen. Ich habe bei der Deutschen Botschaft in London gelernt. Also, yes, I can.
Yeah.
So
I actually understood that.
Yeah. And did you?
He said, I can speak a little German. Let's do the rest in German.
There you go. Also.
So how would you compare France with Germany then? And do you still go to either for pleasure now?
Yeah,
for a holiday?
I've got an old house in France, so I spend a lot of time there up in Normandy.
Have you been to Rouen?
It's funny, Normandy's got two capitals. They've split it up. To the east, you've got Rouen, and then to the west, you've got Caen. So I'm on the other side of the river. So it's where the River Seine comes into the sea. You've got Le Havre, and then you've got Rouen up the river, the inland port, and then you've got the city of Caen, which was an industrial city near the coast on the other side.
Rouen's beautiful, and it gets ignored.
Beautiful.
Normally, everyone's like, "Oh, let's go Paris, let's go south of France, let's go Bordeaux, whatever."
It's becoming more that way now. I notice going around Britain, but provincial capitals in Europe, they really are a little capital. So when you go to Rouen, you've got elements of Paris there. You've got beautiful boulevards. You've got beautiful architecture.
The cathedrals are unreal there.
Exactly.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And you lived in Canada as well?
Yeah, lived in Canada. That's where I became an actor in Canada.
I'm about to go to Canada for the first time this year.
Where are you going?
I'm touring. I'm going Halifax, Victoria,
there you go.
Calgary, Toronto, Vancouver.
At the best place.
What's Halifax like then?
A lovely, lovely old Georgian town is what it is, but it's expanded, it's gone. But what the thing with them is, it's the sense of humour. It's a crazy, crazy mix of Irish and Scots. And there's all these names, like McDonald is MacDonald there, right?
Yeah.
So there's this mix-up, got the most bizarre sense of humour going on in there.
I've got to try and work out what that is. I've got tickets
wacko.
to sell.
I was writing my autobiography. What I wanted to do was phone one of the blokes I knew sort of 30 years before. So I phoned this old number and the phone's ringing. Hello? Oh, and it's Larry. Larry who? I said, it's Larry Lamb. 30 years. Why'd you keep bothering me?
Oh, you must have met some really incredible people in your career.
I tell you, man.
How do you think travel has helped you connect with other people? Do you think being exposed to travel is?
Yeah, the more you when I was about 10 years old and, pretty sure I was going to get into grammar school, Miss Smith, she started to teach us French. And I knew there was this place called France because my granddad and my great uncle had been over there in the war. It's like you've got to try to speak the language because if you don't, you're just wandering like a numpty all the time. Over in France, right, I've got a neighbour there. She looks after people from different places come and stay that she looks after the houses. And all of a sudden, she's having conversation with people that do not speak a word of French. Germans that have come down there to rent a house. And she just gets her little phone. She's sitting there. She types in what she wants to say. They type in what they want to say. You've got to make an attempt.
So what does your perfect holiday look like to you now?
A beach.
Yeah.
Very long, with nobody on it, a lot of driftwood, a box of matches in my pocket, hopefully something I could catch something with, make a little shelter if it's really winter, and cook something on a fire and sit on a beach and eat it. That is my idea of heaven.
Do you prefer solo travel or do you like to go with family? Or...
No, I like going on my own.
It's just you, your knife, driftwood.
That's it, my knife, my driftwood. I know with a knife, I can cut things down. I could make a camp. I could do anything.
Do you have any travel rituals? Or you seem pretty like you could just have a small bag and get on a plane.
Yeah, well, the older I get, the more, as some people used to refer to it, I get train fever. I get freaking out because there's so many things go wrong on the way to an airport. When I was traveling around the world, going to the airport was the beginning of the adventure, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the very first time I went to America, the jumbo jet was the big new thing, the 747. So it's like, whoa, we're going to be on a jumbo jet going to America. And I'm flying over there. I'm going to fly to Washington.
Where did you go?
Washington, D.C.
What were you doing there?
I was going to get married. So I was flying to Washington, then flying from Washington to West Virginia to marry the lady who was going to become my wife. So we get on the jumbo jet, right? And something had gone wrong. And we left about an hour later. And so I'd got a £40 student's ticket, round trip to America for 40 quid. We get on there and they announce, ladies and gentlemen, we really apologise this. The bars will be open complimentary from here to our destination.
No.
Oh, yeah. So I arrived there and I thought, this is going to be terrible. And I'm on a £40 ticket, right? I'm running late, waiting outside. When I got off into the gate off the aircraft, they said, right, Mr. Lamb, come with us. They took me outside, put me in a limousine and drove me straight to National Airport on a £40 round trip student's ticket.
Flying, I imagine, on martinis.
Tell me about it. Yeah.
Let's go to your second item, I think. What's up next?
Travel adapter for North America, Europe and everywhere else, right?
In your Driftwood Beach, a little PowerPoint would be handy then.
Very handy, but not necessary because I got my knife, right? I learned on a TV job that I was doing how to light a fire with a couple of bits of wood and how to make a bow, lighting a fire with little bits of dry stuff and then creating a fire.
Now, you did something brilliant for your 60th, didn't you? You went on a 10-day trek in the Himalayan foothills with your son.
I wish I could do it now. I was 60, so it's 17 years ago. It's the most extraordinary place in the foothills of Nepal because life is completely unmotorized there. So you're living in the foothills. There's nowhere where you can drive cars or anything. There's nowhere where you can even drive a moped. It's steps. So you'll go up 3,000 feet of steps and then you'll see kids running down these steps like they're in the street round the back of Enfield, right? Hurtling down them in a pair of flip-flops, right? Running at 40 miles an hour downhill, down a mountain, and you're trudging your way up. And you pass through these little villages. And because their houses are all open. So you see people, sitting and laughing and joking, having their dinner. You're exposed to their lives, It's absolutely beautiful.
Is that an important part of your life, sharing travel experience with your kids?
Yes, it is. And I've been very lucky with George because we were doing stuff together. We did the Britain by Bike thing and we did various bits and pieces. We travelled all around. We did a thing all around Turkey.
What's your favourite bits of Turkey? Where'd you like going in Turkey?
Istanbul was beautiful, but what we were going to do was a circuit around 2/3 of the country. Flew into Istanbul, we went down to Izmir, then when we were along the coast, and then we cut right up through the middle, all the way through Cappadocia. We did the whole southern coast, through Cappadocia, went down into all the churches, 50, 60 feet under the ground. Then we finished up around Ankara, and then we went from Ankara, we went to Urdu, which is the sort of the world capital of filbert nuts, you know what I mean? Where they put in chocolatey, nutty stuff. Nutella. That's where they make where all the nuts are grown for Nutella.
Really?
Billions and billions and billions of little nuts there. And we went and visited the factory where they turn them all
God,
into...
every kid's just started listening.
I know, tell me.
So have you had any travel experiences in your life that just made you stop and it's changed you, had a really dramatic effect?
I think George and I both felt the same way as going up the Hebridean Trail. So that the Outer Hebrides, where you're way up, you're just a bit short of the furthest north that the UK goes, and you're way out at sea, and the next neighbour on your left is America, right? And it's wild up there. The weather just changes. It just goes like all of a sudden, the whole sky is covered with this. And the next minute, it all blows and it's all covered with that because you're right out in the Atlantic. And they've linked the Hebridean Highway, the Hebridean Trail together. It's 185 miles long. And you've got little causeways that go across. And then you've got a couple of ferry rides. But you go through another world. Like you've never seen beaches like it. Absolutely brilliant white, blue sea, and totally empty. and untouched. It's like lunar landscapes, a lot of it. It's people that live in those ends of the world places are always fascinating to talk to because you've got to be a special kind of person.
Do you ever get somewhere and look back on where you started and look back on Enfield and reflect on how far you've come?
I've just written a novel. Well, the novel, I wrote it earlier on, but the novel's coming out right now. And it's all about a film crew that goes to the Caribbean and everything goes wrong. You know, because what happened with me is I came from the world that I was working in where I was rebuilding overhead power line systems. Then suddenly I'm an actor. And you begin to realize, hang on a minute, there's a job that I used to do when I was building overhead power lines that is exactly the same on this crew. And that character, man or woman, is the first assistant director. And ever since then, I was just totally fascinated by their version of what I'd done in this new world for me. And I'd always thought, I've got to write a story. So I wrote a story about a first assistant director and his crew going off to make this film. Doing that is based on all of the journeys that I've had around the world, working with all these funny old people from different places, understanding people that have a totally different way of life. But the weird connect is that every time you're with a bunch of crew on a film or a television thing in another country, those people on that crew are the same in every country. Chinese crew, Indian crew, American crew, Mexican crew, French, Spanish, German, Italian, Belgian. They're all the same. All these places I've been, all this stuff I've learned, all these people I've worked with, interviewed, been interviewed by, places I've stayed. You talk about, like, I just got to the point where luxury hotels, I'm not interested.
So I'm not that now. When
I
I'm
want
tour,
a hut. I want a hut out the back, and you've got a hut out the garden. I've had enough.
do you know what? I did a series for BBC, which was supposed to be like going in extreme environments and trying to complete a mission and surviving. Everywhere was the same. The only difference was when we were in Italy, right? We were on the mountainside and we stopped, and every other crew around the world would bust open the cup of soups. The Italians, tablecloth, bit of cheese, a little bit of wine.
Yep, absolutely.
Even out in the sticks, the meal was done properly.
Nuts. When I was working in the Dominican Republic, right? All Italian crews, there's 150 of them. Somebody gets out there, Ugo Valenti, this guy's name. He was the production manager. So Ugo Valenti realizes he's got 150 Italians coming out there. It's already cost him a fortune in places with him shipping out proper pasta to them, so they weren't cooking local pasta. He's got an aeroplane of pasta coming in, so he gets to the Dominican Republic, right? And he realizes there's nowhere where they can eat. You know what he did? He flew his mum over.
No.
He got the crew to build a little restaurant, and she opened a restaurant and took all their money, right? Because they cannot live with that. We were in Spain, and they blagged them to let them have their great big pot on there with water in it, so they're going to all cook their own pasta and eat the Spanish
I just love
food.
Italian. My wife's part Italian. Have you been to Italy much?
A lot. I've worked in Italy a lot.
Just the food there.
The best, without a doubt, the best food in the world, and served the best way.
And where's your favourite places in Italy then?
I have to say it's probably Rome. My friend is from Puglia, and I really love Puglia down there. Sicily is absolutely astonishing.
Yeah, I've been to Sicily. It's a different culture, isn't it? The food's different.
The food.
Everything's bigger in Sicily.
Everything, wherever you go, and it's over there. The serving of it. It's
so
just,
if you speak Italian, I'm going to get wound up.
Un po' di italiano.
Honestly,
un po' di italiano.
It's like sat next to Wikipedia.
C'è un amico del Puglia.
Any crazy adventures in Italy? Anything happened to you?
We're filming in Verona, right? I'm playing an Italian doctor who's very dodgy with a brother who's a magistrate, an investigating magistrate, like a senior policeman. So he is going to be arresting his brother that I'm playing. So part of the thing is we have to go to a big concert. So we're in Verona where they have this massive concert hall, right?
Indeed.
So we go to Verona. I've got, enough of Italian. It's not perfect, but it's like, as they would say, bastanza per la comunicazione.
Yeah, enough,
so that's what I can do. Enough to
with.
Communicate, right? So I'm communicating with a guy called Bruno, who's the head man.
That's my father-in-law's name.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bruno is the head of the backstage of the Verona. So I chat with old Bruno, and he says to me, look, if you want to come backstage tonight, Luciano Pavarotti is doing a concert here tonight. Come backstage, come at the stage door. I'll take you around and you can meet him and stand there while we listen to him tuning up, right? What do? I go chasing some French bird that night and didn't go.
That story did not go where I thought it was going to go. Where's your next travel destination? Anything planned?
I'm going to go around the country. Doing that thing with my boy, Britain by Bike, was one of the most illuminating experiences I've had, and him too. A lot of the places we'd never been to. And I love going anywhere like Venice. We had a friend that had their own boat, and so they were able to take us around to places that you can only go to by boat, right? Little restaurants on an island where they have no access other than a boat. The right time of the year to go to Venice is the winter time. But I love traveling on those vaporetti, the boats, you know, I love it. There's something really special about getting on a boat that's going to take you to a little place. And then you get off and you go and have a wander around. And you say, right, come back and get back on the next boat and go and have a little
How do you deal with an all-inclusive, just staying in a resort?
It's different for me traveling my own, right? You got a family. They're the best holidays.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what's your third item?
On the trip to Nepal, we stopped off in New Delhi. So we went to the Taj Hotel.
Yeah.
And there I got my little sewing kit. It's all a bit muggled up now, but it's got the needles, it's got the thread, it's got a couple of buttons. And that, you get a splinter, you need a needle, right?
Yeah. As well as having a practical application for solo travel and this slightly sort of survivalist type edge that you seem to be into, it's got emotional value because you remember spending time with your son there and a gift and everything like that.
Yeah, it is. That's what it is. That's where it comes from. That's why it's still in the little container. It's got a little wrap around on it that says the Taj Hotel.
What role has travel played in your life overall?
If I had to add up all the gifts of everything that have happened to me, the travel, very close to being the number one. I've not worked in Antarctica and I've not worked in the Arctic, but I've worked every other continent and I've spent time in all those places. And that is one of the things that I really wanted to do. I wanted to see the world, and I've seen the world. People say, where would you like to go back to? And I'm really hard pushed. I went back to Nova Scotia after not being there for 30 years. And of course, you don't really recognize it. And trying to find something that you knew all those years ago is not the same. Like I had wonderful, wonderful times in Madrid in the 80s, right? And then the next time I go, there was this friend of mine told me what to do. He said, when you go to Madrid, I was coming in from Granada. I came in on the overnight train. It's another thing I love is traveling on overnight trains.
Yeah. What's that like, the overnight train from Granada to Madrid?
It was old-fashioned Victorian style trains.
Yeah.
And they had lovely porters there. So you give them a few quid, they carry all your bags. They put your bags up there for you, make sure you get in. You've got everything sorted for you in your little cabin. And then you go and have lunch or dinner or whatever. And then you arrive in the morning. That's the bit about it. Overnight, the journey's done. In the morning, you get out the Atocha station, there's two stations in Madrid, Atocha for south and Chamartin for everything north. And it's all misty and cold and all the rest of it. Get in a taxi. You tell him I want to go to the Hotel Zurbano. So he takes you up the main drag and then you turn off on the Calle Zurbano and it goes up and up and up and it winds all the way through Madrid. So we drive all the way up it, check in, chuck my bags in there, and I walk out and I know if I turn right, I'm going back down into the heart of Madrid. And I'm walking through, this is 1984 and it's like February. So sunny, cold, and I'm watching the city of Madrid come to life. Big fish shops, massive because they're so mental for seafood, right? Seafood I've never seen, all laid out in these markets.
And they're inland as well, Madrid, aren't they?
Yeah, right. And that's where they're nuts for it. They cannot get enough. That like stores, Ultramarinos, which is where they sell stuff from all over the world, all different little shops. I go back there 25 years later. And I'm walking the same route down this road, the hotel, from Zurbano all the way down there. And what am I seeing? Coffees, little tiny grocery stores, and all these things where all that character is completely gone.
Right.
And you're looking for it and it's not there anymore.
So where would you go to in Spain to still find that character? Into Andalusia or something? Or?
Yeah, Andalusia. There's really interesting corners of Andalusia that people don't go to. That whole bit around Cadiz.
But you can base yourself at a tourist hub and go exploring, can't you?
Yes, exactly. And that's what I would always
I
do.
think, particularly for people with families, that's the compromise.
Yeah.
Like my daughter's 9.
Yep.
So we have to do a certain amount of the swimming and kids club. But then we'll go out and, like, when we were in Morocco, we went and watched sunset in the desert,
Yeah.
had a feast with these people, like
There you go.
drumming and with the camels and all that. So you can do both in a holiday.
Absolutely. And you've got, because, I mean, for me, going to Dover Court was a big deal. And my father, there was all sorts of faults with the way that I was fathered, but that wasn't his fault because he'd not been well fathered. But he did instill a sense of adventure, a sense of inquisitiveness, wanted to, taking you on board. Always when we went down that way, right down to the south, we'd go to Portsmouth and we'd go on Nelson's flagship, the Victory. Things like that. It's still like a massive part of my life.
You know what you need to write next? You need to write a bloody travel book. Quick fire round. Should be
I'm not very
interesting.
good at quick
No,
fire.
me neither.
Slow fire.
See you in about 30 minutes.
Yeah, there you go. Make it 40.
Okay, apart from your son, obviously, who's your dream celebrity travel partner?
Barack Obama.
Where would you go?
Anywhere he wanted to go. I don't care.
There's your driftwood. Don't touch mine.
That's it.
Barry.
Yeah, that's it. You've got a penknife.
You got a knife.
Mine.
Where's your tool? What tool?
Yeah,
Your tool.
it's
If you go to a buffet, which I couldn't imagine you doing, given what you said, but
No,
if you are at a buffet,
I love a buffet.
you do. What's the first thing on your plate?
Fish, probably. Seek out some fish. If there is any smoked salmon, I'm very partial to smoked salmon, but I also love Danish-style pickled herrings.
Yeah, roll mop, as my old man
Yeah,
would call
roll
them.
mop is all right, but the way the Danes do them in a sweet sour, I don't like a too sour a pickle.
Yeah.
That's what I love roll mops, but they're not the same. They do this and they call it zilt or something. That's their word for it, and they're just silvery fillets of herring in a sweet and sour vinegar.
As my dad used to say, my arse is eating my trousers here.
There you go, mate. Having a good
My dad's
scoff.
boozer, and it was the Warren Wood in Epping, and everyone would bring their own thing, and my dad would put his pickled herrings and his pickled onions, and
There you
someone
go.
else would bring some cheese.
There you
and
go,
they'd all
mate.
share them down the
There
Warren.
you go.
I love a pickled herring. What's your biggest travel ick? The thing that makes you go, ugh.
People.
Best beach destination in the world?
Now I'm a cold water swimmer. Very definitely the Hebrides, or right across the top of Scotland.
Yeah.
Literally across the top. I mean, with these, they run up almost to the same level. And you're way up there when you look at it on the map, the way the Hebrides.
You ever been to the Faroe Islands?
I've never been there, no. No, but you go up there, but to drive right around Scotland is one of the most amazing trips ever. Because it's so big.
This one will be quick because we've discussed it at length already. Fly and flop or explore?
Exactly.
Explore. What do you think about clapping when the plane lands? Does it wind you up or do you join in?
Well, okay, fine. I don't care. Do what you like.
As a comedian, I feel a bit hypocritical if I'm having a go at people applauding at the end of something.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Right. And you do get some funny people that make the announcement. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Funny announcements by plane attendants. I love them. You get one of them.
Favourite holiday snack?
Favourite holiday snack? Whatever local people eat.
Yeah, good answer. I think this says a lot about someone psychologically. Window or aisle seat?
Aisle, got to. Old men need to get to the toilet.
It is, isn't it? Barry Island or Barbados?
Barry Island or Barbados, as they call it.
Is there any bucket list destination you haven't gone to yet that you're determined to get to?
Yes, I suppose the one thing I want to do is I want to get out into the country in the northern end of the islands of Japan. I've never been to Japan. It'll be interesting to go and see a Japanese city, but I'm not really into cities at all. I'd love to go where ordinary people still sustain a very sort of ancient style of life, totally different to mine, in like northern islands of Japan.
And they live for a long time up
They
there. So
do.
they've obviously got some secret sauce going on.
They do.
Have you got any really embarrassing travel stories?
You know these amazing revolving toilets
Yeah.
on trains
Yeah.
where you press the
Yeah.
button
Oh, I
and
know
you
'em.
get in.
I live on trains.
Well, try being from Gavin and Stacey and you've forgotten to press the button that says close it, and you're sitting on the pot, right? And it opens and there's a woman standing there staring at you going, "Oh, it's you."
Do you prefer to plan it a little bit or just turn up and see what happens?
I don't want to go there completely unplanned. And if there's any way I can sort out somebody on the ground there, because so much of the travel that I've done has been going away on jobs. And so you're met at the airport by somebody who's got their feet on the ground, right? And you get spoiled by that. And like, if I'm going anywhere, I want a connection. I don't want to just arrive there.
Mm.
You know, I want a connection of somebody who, if I don't speak the language, speaks the local language, who can introduce me to it so I can ask them where things are. When I was living in Madrid, you know, I was picking up Spanish as I went along, and it's all based on a good foundation in French. So once you've learned a Latin language, you can figure your way through the rest of them. And there's so many similarities. So I'm picking up Spanish and I'm not, and going to dues in Spain, and because I could rattle off a bit of Spanish, they'd start rattling off back, and you sort of think, hang on a minute, I'm not quite as quick on that. So I got these people I knew. She said, right, just say this: perdón, mi español es horrible, pero si tú hablas despacio, probablemente entenderé. So that's basically, sorry, my Spanish is terrible. You got it, did you?
Yeah, but I can understand what you're saying when you speak to me, but I'm not very good at speaking it.
Yeah.
So what you
said?
That's
it. He said, my Spanish is terrible, but if you speak to me, probably si tú hablas despacio, if you speak slowly, I will understand it. And it's got this weird effect. They look at you and go, okay. And then they start slowing down.
I'm from Chelmsford, actually. My name's Gary. I just got a tan.
That's it, right. And I'm moving to Woodford tomorrow.
It's going to be tough because you've given us so many rich and wonderful ones. But what is your best travel memory?
I think travelling with my boy.
Yeah.
I think that's my favourite.
Would you like to do that in another country? Like if they said travelling around France by bike or Normandy, would you be up for it?
Yeah. I love riding my bike. My legs and back are so dodgy now that like walking, which was always my thing, that becomes difficult. Whereas riding my bike for miles and miles and miles, you always stop and talk to people. You know what I mean?
Very nice. Honestly, Larry, it's just been fantastic. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Lovely.
We know you've got this brilliant novel coming out. What's it called? And
it's called All Wrapped Up.
Yes,
mate. It's about a film crew going to the Caribbean, and it's available right now on Waterstones and Amazon. It's there.
And anything else going on? You filming anything at the moment? Yeah, I mean,
there's a couple of TV things that I did. There's a interesting thing coming out called The Feud on Channel 5. Then there's another thing called Art Detectives I did with an old mate of mine, Stephen Moyer, who played the lead in True Blood. I'm doing a couple of sort of like little bits and pieces at the moment, but really what I'm doing now is starting to think how to follow the book.
Thank you so much, Larry. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Pack Your Bags with Tui. If it's your first time listening, we've got loads of other episodes to catch up on. We've got the adventurer Jason Fox, comedian Rob Beckett, my mate and dancer Oti Mabuse. And for those of you who've been with us all series, thanks for joining us on this journey. It's been a blast. I'll see you later, yeah?